Explorers. Really good to have you join us today to talk about Antarctica and expedition cruising in Antarctica with HX. I'm joined by my good friend, Verena Meraldi, who is our chief scientist. And Verena, I'm having problems moving slides, so you might have to take control, please.
Of
I'm
course.
based in Wales, and Verena is based in Switzerland. Our Slimline team today, Karen, who usually is with us, got a better offer, an in-person event in Norway. So we're down to the two of us. The aim today is to talk a little bit of introduction about the company, but also main body is about Antarctica. And as Lee said, we do have a big team of people behind the scenes that will be able to answer your questions as we go through. So a wealth of knowledge there to answer your questions. And HX, we are a old company. We've been around since 1896 in different names and different versions, with our first sailing from mainland Norway up to Svalbard. But we've now really been concentrating under the brand of HX for the last couple of years. As a brand, we're very much made for around science and education and curiosity to really bring the destinations to life, and also in a really mindful way, so in as lower impact way as possible. In terms of why HX, we really mix and blend the perfect balance of adventure, and comfort and curiosity. So those three things really make us. In terms of Antarctica, we are very much the leader in Antarctic travel, where more guests have trusted us to take them on their journey of a lifetime than any other. We do have an expedition fleet of 5 ships, of 3 which go to Antarctica, which we'll talk about, but we also have MS Spitsbergen, which specializes in the Arctic, and also Scotland, and also MS Santa Cruz 2 that operates year round in the Galapagos Islands. And if you want a real insight into the Galapagos, then Monty Hall's our ambassador for 130th year we've just produced with him in a great little mini series there. Our Antarctic ships that go are 2 newest ships in our fleet, MS Roald Amundsen and MS Fridtjof Nansen, are hybrid vessels, and MS Fram, which is now built in 2007 and has been operating or flying the flag for HX expedition operations ever since. But in terms of our fleet, Verena, what makes our fleet a little bit different in terms of our ships?
Well, our ships are built for purpose. They were designed with expedition in mind and allowing our guests to be or to have a very outward facing experience. So they all have a number of observation decks, sorry, inside and outside, floor to ceiling windows in the uh, the people's areas, the lounge, and we also have on the 2 sister ships, Amundsen and Nansen, a nice area in the front of the ship covered with window outside area. So it is really meant for people to experience the outdoors excellently. And we have dedicated areas, the science center, which we will focus more later. We have our expedition boats that are the center of the Zodiac, the expedition boats, the center of our movements in Antarctica. But yes, so very comfortable as well. And yes.
Yeah. No, fantastic. And that sort of that comfort, relaxed atmosphere very much permeates through everything we do on board. So we'll show a little bit later what it looks like inside. But all our trips are now all inclusive. And that means you don't have to dip your hand in your pocket for any day-to-day goings on the ship. So we provide you with expedition jackets, water bottles, loan you rubber boots, walking sticks, but also, of course, all our sessions. We have incredible food options. We also have professional photographers to not only help you, but provide you with those memories, and also good connectivity to the outside world with Starlink, which is sometimes probably a little bit better than the technical problems I've had earlier today, um, including moving slides. Life on board, Verena, I mentioned it's very relaxed. In terms of that, what's your sort of feel for life on board?
Well, it's again super relaxed. We don't have a dress code, so people can bring whatever they feel comfortable wearing. Of course, if you want to bring a dress or a jacket, please do so. But no dress code. Very, very nice to just be there, and everybody looking the same, comfortable people. We have again, other than the nice space, shared spaces, we have a wellness center on board where you can get pampered after a long day experiencing the outdoors. But the most important thing is that you will be surrounded by like-minded people, and this will absolutely enhance your experience.
And any trip on any ship or anyway, food is very important. So we do have 3 restaurants on Amundsen and Nansen and 2 on Fram, and there we really blend sort of local flavors, local supplied food, and of course that food and drink is available, whether it be cocktails in the bar, through to incredible meals. So, and also with that variety of choice from vegan, vegetarian, gluten free, of course, catering for everybody's individual needs. I've lost control again. Sorry.
So I'm
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Next,
next
we
one.
have a video which Verena is just going to share, which is really introducing Antarctica to us from the voice of one of our expedition leaders.
I feel it's a sensation.
Welcome to the Antarctic continent.
Antarctica is the place where you see and understand what we need to protect. When you have been there, it changes your perception of life. You see nature at its most pure. Seeing the penguins, having them look at you, pondering who you are and what you are like, and then just walking off, not bothered by.
What happened there?
I think hit the play button again, Verena.
Yeah.
By your presence. That is
There you go.
something special. Something that you experience rarely with wild animals. In Antarctica, when you are here, watch, listen, and feel it. Take that time to actually appreciate where you are and what you are actually seeing. Just remember to listen and see if you see it calm. There is no silence in Antarctica. You hear the crackling of the ice, some distant wildlife. You hear a puff of a whale in the distance that you might not see. But this you can only experience if you yourself take the time to listen.
We have some big ones here.
The mission is to have guests fall in love.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy.
To understand it and to broaden their minds.
But it is blocked by the huge iceberg on the other side.
To see the stars in the eyes of guests when they see their first penguin, or when they see their first iceberg, when they walk on snow for the first time. Antarctica is a place you can know everything about, but the feeling you get, the sensation that it gives you, is something you cannot get anywhere else.
Brilliant. Thank you for doing that, Verena. Some incredible footage there, and I think there might be something happening in the cyber world today because it was a bit slow for me. But apologies if it was a bit slow. But hopefully you got the gist of the majestic scope of Antarctica. We offer across our three ships a variety of sailings. We had, in fact, around 33, which really focus around three main sort of batches of elements. So it can be a bit bewildering which itinerary to do for me. So we're really going to look at what the best itinerary. And Verena, could you take control of the slides again? Sorry, it's there's definitely something wrong with my cyber world today, but we're here. We do have, as I mentioned, those different cruises from the shorter ones, the highlights of Antarctica, where we're really sort of focusing just on the Antarctic Peninsula, and really getting that mix of a great trip. A slightly longer trips where we go more into depth, down into the Antarctic Circle, which are longer, and then the real piece de la resistance is the trips that take in the Falklands and South Georgia. All these trips are a variety, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. The Falklands really is a hidden gem in our opinion, and with a real mix of history. Stanley is the capital, but the Western Islands are really important bird areas with a mix of 5 different penguin species and albatross. And then we get to South Georgia, Verena.
Yes, South Georgia. Oof, it's not for nothing that it's called the Serengeti of the South. It is in South Georgia that you encounter the biggest king penguin colonies, where you see the snowy albatross, or formerly called wandering albatross, nesting. It is a place where you also have a very alpine landscape right next to the beaches. It's also the place where reside the tomb of Ernest Shackleton, so also rich in whaling history and in survival history with Shackleton's Endurance Odyssey. But it is an amazing place, my favorite place on Earth, actually.
So, so depending on the amount of time you have, and then the opportunities, then we have that variety of trips to fit everybody's needs. All our trips do start in Buenos Aires and finish in Buenos Aires. So we have a hotel night included before you sail, or Santiago if you're going on Fram, because she sails from Punta Arenas. So we take you then from a hotel night and activities in Santiago or Buenos Aires down to the gateway ports of Punta Arenas and Ushuaia, and off we go on your trips. We do offer pre or post activities in both Chile and Buenos Aires, if you should so choose. So those options are available. But we're going to now concentrate and focus on talking about Antarctica specifically. And so we'll just really deep dive into that aspect of it. Any trip to Antarctica is a long one. Getting to southern South America is a long way. But then we cross the Drake Passage, which is a 2-day sea crossing, sometimes called the Drake Shake, because about 1 in 10 crossings can be a little bit rough, because it is open water and notorious. But 9 in 10 is, or we would deem as pretty comfortable. And during this time, we prepare you a lot for the upcoming time in Antarctica in terms of briefings, safety, and what to do. But one of the highlights, Verena, for you very much is what you see outside.
Yes. So during the passage through the Drake is when you start seeing or encountering the amazing seabirds that make the Southern Ocean their home. And my favorite species of all of these is the wandering albatross. It is not only the biggest flying bird on planet Earth, with a wingspan of 3.5 meters, but they are extremely beautiful and elegant. And just imagine they can fly for hours without even resting, and do thousands of kilometers, go around Antarctica in the search for food. So it is a place to start looking for wildlife, for birds. And the closer you get to Antarctica, of course, you will get to see the first icebergs and the first mountain ranges. But yeah, it's an incredible experience to have the Drake Passage.
And in terms of, one of the questions we get, and some of you asked before, when's the perfect time to go? The real short answer is whenever you can go. It's always brilliant. So and the guest feedback throughout the season is equally brilliant. But really, if you look at Antarctica has two seasons, really, the summer and the winter. And then in the start of November, Antarctica has been released from the grip of the winter, so you get a lot more of the white, pristine scenery. And towards the end of the season, it's then going from the summer period into back into the winter. And in that period, then we get the mixture of, or we get the mix of the wildlife, which are the race to breed over the summer. So at the start of the season, the penguins are coming back in their numbers and nesting. And then when we get to the middle of the season, then we get the penguin chicks being born. And then at the end of the season, the penguins are molting. And a similar thing with the seal pups tend to be born before we get there at the end of the winter. And the peak whale time is towards the end of the season. At the start and at the end of the season, we get the sunsets, and at the end of the season, we get a lot more of the lights, like we see in the left-hand side of this picture. But the cornerstone of all this, Verena, is really what the magic that makes it happen.
Yes, exactly. With the return of the spring or the summer, we have what we call plankton blooms. So life returns to the continent, and with the bloom of these microscopic creatures comes also the abundance of krill, which will attract all of the other creatures that we go and see in Antarctica, the penguins, the whales, the albatrosses. Every single living being in Antarctica depends on the krill. And again, they start being so abundant because of the return of life in the form of krill and phytoplankton. So it's November is a very special period of time to visit Antarctica, not only because of the pristine landscapes that you mentioned, Tudor, but because really you feel the life coming back to the white continent.
Yeah, and we were lucky enough to be in Antarctica at the end or in November on a trip on Amundsen, and just that sort of nature of the light that we get in that time of year. It's got early or late evening. You get these incredible orange glows or alpine glow on the mountains. So yeah, a fantastic time to be there. But again, all time is fantastic. And in terms of, we've mentioned a lot about the krill and the plankton, and we talked about penguins, but talk us a little bit more, Verena, about what we're going to see.
Well, there's of course the seals that also, there are three species mainly in Antarctica: the Weddell seal, the crab-eater seals, and the leopard seals that make Antarctica their home or their breeding grounds. And those will be observed throughout the season, particularly at the beginning, the crab-eaters who are to be found on the ice. Whales, they will start returning as early as November from their breeding grounds and use the whole summer to feed themselves full of krill. So in terms of whale watching, as Tudor mentioned earlier, the best time to visit Antarctica for this would be in February, March, where they have already fed themselves, recover, and are just taking advantage of the plentifulness of food. And there are other birds, seabirds, that make Antarctica their home, like the squirrels, petrels, others. Species of albatross, and particularly the Antarctic shags that nest in many of the cliffs nearby penguin colonies that you will get to experience in Antarctica. And again, November is the time when the penguins return to their breeding grounds, to their same nest every year, and it is a spectacle to see them returning from sea in big numbers.
And I think this is we put this one in. This is just the start of the nest building process, or part of the nest building process that we saw in November. So yeah, great time to visit and see. And that orange you see, Verena, is not just their beaks and their feet, but what's the orange in the snow?
It's guano, what we call guano, the penguin poo. And it is that coloration precisely because they feed on krill and get the coloration of the crustacean transmitted to the feces. And yeah, it becomes very colorful and smelly towards the end of the season.
And the more krill they're eating, the more the color of their feet goes more orange, doesn't it? So you get the variety of the color of the feet in particularly in Gentoo penguins. Amazing. Yeah.
It is.
So we've talked a little bit about the wildlife, but we're going to talk a little bit now about the activities that we do on board. Off-ship activities, we really have a variety from kayaking. We have two different types of kayaking, from sea kayaking, where we provide you with all the equipment from dry suits, paddle, everything. And you are guided by two kayak guides, and you go out through to what we call a discovery kayak, which we've got a picture soon, which is a self-guided within a safety perimeter in a sort of in an incredibly stable inflatable kayak. We also have camping, again, where we can take people out either in a tent or a bivy bag, which again, incredibly popular. Also snowshoeing. But the cornerstone of what we do are nature landings and small boat cruising. And I know we always get the questions regarding fitness, getting in and out of Zodiacs. As Verena mentioned, our ships are purpose-built, and we have these shell doors that fold down to create a platform where our crew will help you onto the Zodiac boats. The Zodiacs are the inflatable boats, take up to 12 passengers, 12 guests at a time. So you're helped at all stages in and out of the boats. If we do a landing, then we either land onto rock or onto a beach, and again, where our crew and expedition team will be there to help you on and off the boats. The important thing in terms of fitness is really, one, being able to follow safety instructions, which you will be fully briefed, but also that ability to be able to stand up and down. So the sides of the boats are like a big inflatable, comfortable bench. And that's the main thing with ropes, etc., to hold on. So incredibly safe. Then, Verena, we've got an activity called Science Boat, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. These again, this is a photo from last November. We had some days of incredible weather. This is the Discovery Kayak program, so a great activity to do, and you can just go at your own pace. Then on the ship, we have multiple things that go on.
I can start with what happens in the science center. And the ship itself is a nice platform to do ship cruising. It is amazing to be outside when we're doing that. The ship will go at a slower speed to allow our guests to take in the whole landscape, the experience, the area. We will invite you to participate in our science and education program, where in the science center we will lead science-focused educational activities that will complement the lectures that will be offered to you on every subject or every relevant subject, be it ornithology, be it marine mammals, geology, oceanography. So you will get all the information you need to understand and really encompass the Antarctic continent and ecosystems. We will also offer other kinds of activities, not necessarily educational, but we can invite you to build penguins with clay, or make a decoration on your water bottle, and so on and so on. But that is part of the educational component. Tudor, what else can our guests do on board the ship?
And of course, one of the important parts are really being relaxed and enjoying yourself and making the most of it. So we do have incredible facilities, from hot tubs, swimming pool, running tracks, an incredible gym. We mentioned the spa earlier, and of course, very much outward-facing ships. So enjoying a drink whilst going through some incredible channels and scenery are very much part of it. In terms of mindful adventure, then we really look at reducing our impact as much as possible. So we are very active members of IATO, which is the International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators, which we as an industry have very much set those guidelines, working with the Antarctic Treaty. As a UK-based company, all our activities and operations are permitted from the UK government. So it's very well protected, Antarctica, and what we do is in complying with those. We do things, biosecurity is very important, and making sure we do not spread those. We've mentioned members of the expedition team. On our bigger ships, we have around 22 expedition team, and on Fram, we have 15 or 16 expedition team there to really look after you, and they are professionals and in their fields, different fields, whether it be marine biology, historians, ornithologists, activity guides, or the expedition leader is there to look after you. So very much a very important part of that. So you may ask, what will a day in the life of a trip in Antarctica look like? So very much around a sort of a normal day in terms of meals. We fit in the briefings for what you need to do, those optional extras of kayaking, snowshoeing, camping. But as I mentioned, the core activities, off-ship activities, are doing a nature landing and a Zodiac cruise. So we aim every day to do 2 off-ship activities. These are complemented with on-board activities in the science center or deck watches to really be able to build that knowledge, which Verena talked about and we'll mention a bit later on as well, to really reinforce those activities. And of course, one of the important things we ask our guests to do is really at the end of the day to join the briefing, which does a recap of the day that's just happened, but also plans for the next day. Technology is very much with us, and we do have all our events and plans in an app, but that also gives you the ability to look at what's on the menu for today for your meals and which restaurant you may like to go to. In terms of organizing everybody, we split everybody into boat groups. And everybody will get a boat group patch to put on their jacket, and you can be a proud krill or a humpback whale. And so during that activity, we split people up because the regulations in Antarctica are very strict. So we rotate people through the different activities. So we can only have 100 people ashore at any one time, the same for all ships operating in Antarctica that can do landings. So we will rotate people. So in the morning, the bit about you doing a landing, and then in the afternoon doing a small boat cruising or going kayaking or discovery kayaking. So we rotate everybody around. So it's a very organized routine structure, and the details of those activities are in the app. Also, before you go to Antarctica, then we also provide you with a really big portfolio of documentation, which is we call a voyage documentation, and we also hold a destination-specific pre-departure webinar, where you'll likely hear from Verena, Karen, and myself to really prepare you for those. But that information also includes detailed information on what to pack, what to take, and we have those different aspects of things like that in there to talk you through and make sure you're prepared, because we want you to be as relaxed as possible to make the enjoyment and not be stressed about any part of your journey. As part of our trip last November, again, this was one of my sort of highlights. We'd just been setting up the camping, and the light was just absolutely incredible. So this is where our 60 of our guests got to camp with these incredibly stunning views and that light. And as the sun drops, obviously it gets a little bit chillier, but they all had an absolutely amazing time. And then other sort of activities, I think, which just happened depending on the conditions. Again, this is from a trip before, but we sailed past and we did a sea ice landing, which was kind of let's see them make the most of it. Oh, we can do this. So after dinner, this was in fact we took our guests out for a sea ice landing. In terms of Antarctica and these trips, then the highlight trips, really getting the ship in the right place at the right time with the experience of our team and the captains, and those briefings are very, very important. But we thought it'd be worthwhile putting this map in, just to sort of, although our itineraries, we do have a plan A, then it is about getting to those different destinations, but showing the distance from South America, those 2-day crossing across the Drake, and that area where most of the names are north of where it says Antarctic Peninsula are really the main area of operation for our highlight trips. And then the more in-depth Antarctic Circle trips, those bits that are obviously going south of 6633 down into Crystal Sound and Marguerite Bay, so real special trips. But this area, this is Lemaire Channel, which is very much one of those areas that we really see and love, and of course everybody's out on deck enjoying the scenery. And at the start of the season, November, December, or we can see a lot more remnant sort of patches of sea ice and these bergy bits. So you get these kind of a different type of atmosphere. Whilst towards the end of the season, you can get sort of a bit more clear waters. But the core of the program, and of course, as we own and operate our own ships, then we've built them around these incredible science centers, which Verena, you've been absolutely key in doing. So talk us through the heart of the ship.
Yeah, well, as you said, purpose-built areas where we can invite our guests not only to learn about the different topics, but also make it their hands-on experience. We have heavily invested on our science centers. We have equipped them with microscopes, with museum-type exhibits, with sampling material and equipment, so that we can really help you dive deep into the topics that we will cover on board. And as part of that, we will prepare you beforehand, before joining our trips. We have worked in collaboration with the University of Tasmania to create this incredible intro course that will be offered to everybody traveling with HX to Antarctica. It's a course that covers Antarctica governance, which covers the main wildlife that you will encounter, that will help you prepare for participating in the different citizen science projects that we support, and so on. And it is free of charge for everybody joining us. What we found out that this was such a good way for you to prepare, and that the trip itself was such a transformational experience, that we thought it would be also good for us to try to help you continue this journey after traveling with us. And we have therefore also developed a comprehensive Antarctic course together with University of Tasmania as well. This is a more focused journey or course that is over 20 hours long and gives you credit to carry over to other studies with the University of Tasmania. But what we do include for everybody on our trips is the deck watches, the wildlife spotting, all of the lectures, all of the activities in the Science Center where you will be able to identify the plankton that you have just collected, for example, if you participated in the science boat, but also activities of boat like the Science Center, the science boat where you will join our team and help collect data for a number of research projects. You will be invited to do seabird surveys, whale surveys, and so on and so on. So our science and education program, you can be involved as much or as little as you want, but we try to make you not only an observer, but also a participant in the collection of data, so important to preserve Antarctica. We also offer our ships as platforms of opportunity, meaning that we will have researchers joining all of our departures. For the 26-27 season, all of our 3 ships will be hosting researchers. These are only a number of the institutions that we work together with, and it is an incredible experience, if you ask me, if you can travel with a whale researcher, for example, that has set up recorders, underwater recorders, and left them in recording throughout the winter. But this is what happened in 2024-25 season, and we were there when they recovered the samples. This is, or the instruments. This is Tudor fishing out the instrument that was released by messaging the underwater device. It came up to the surface. It was the first time ever that this was attempted. And this is the happy researcher recovering her baby after a year underwater, not even being sure if the batteries would survive the rough conditions in Antarctica. But what she did later is that she went through the data she collected and shared it with our guests on board. So these are the humpback whales that were recorded during the winter in Antarctica, and this was shared for the very first time with our guests. Incredible experiences. So having a guest scientist on board the ship not only allows you to understand the work that is being done in Antarctica, but also to discuss in person with the people doing that research. Some numbers. In terms of our just finished Antarctic season 25-26, we had highlights here. We did offer 1,800 cruise nights for researchers to join us. We had over 70 researchers joining our 3 ships. We had over 27,000 green stay nights, by which when guests decide not to have their cabins cleaned for a day, we give some money to the foundation. Our guests and staff contributed with 815 whale submissions to the program Happy Whale. eBirds checklists, we contributed with a lot of science data was collected by our staff and guests. Maybe Tudor, you can give us some other statistics here.
No, absolutely. And I think we're just coming out of the 25-26 season. So very much, I think it was our record-breaking season in terms of many things. Verena mentioned the foundation. This is our own. In fact, here we go. I'm wearing a foundation top, where we raise money through onboard auctions, through Green Stay, through other things, and really give it back to projects that really help the areas we sail. So it's a way of giving back to communities, science research projects. But also as guests on board, you will very much be supporting the science community in ways that Verena said. Our feedback from our guests has been incredible. On TripAdvisor, please do take a look now. Incredibly high ratings, 93% guest satisfaction with our trips, so absolutely incredible. This year we also took feedback from previous years where kayaking and camping, we felt our guests felt there wasn't enough opportunity. Now we've increased the kayaking capacity and the camping capacity massively, so virtually everybody that wants to go gets a chance to go. And also the courses that Verena mentioned in terms of preparing you for those trips to make the most of them are really been really popular. So yeah, fantastic season. But on to next season. As I mentioned at the start, this is our 130th year. And so we're celebrating, and we like to give everybody a present. And that present is giving you up to 25% off or a free suite upgrade for Antarctica in 2026. Those are bookings by the April the 30th and special offers on for the start of the season. And also as a thank you, we're giving even more. I mean, unbelievable. As a thank you for listening to us now, we have an additional €250 onboard credit that we will give you if you book before the 28th of April, but you need to use this code HXWebinar250. Please do call one of our expedition specialists to take up those offers, and if you need any more information. If you do want to know more, then we do have a increasing amount of webinars. Here is the QR code that will take you to the library and prepare you for those. Okay, we're going to hand over to Ollie now to answer your questions.
Yeah, and maybe you have a sip of water, Morgan.
Thank you very much for that, guys. You hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, great. After all the technical issues, I just wanted to check, and the throat issues, but brilliant presentation.
Stop sharing now.
Thank you for that, and thank you everybody for joining today. Lots of questions actually, which is really good to see. So appreciate all of the engagement. I'm just going to try and summarize some of the themes and some of the outstanding questions that we have here for our presenters. So a number of people are a little bit concerned, nervous about the Drake Passage. Probably heard a few stories. I did kind of summarize in one of my comments that I think we say on average that we consider roughly 1 in 10 crossings to be rough. But Tudor, do you want to perhaps answer the question around the Drake and that experience? I know you touched on it in the presentation, but if people are a little bit sensitive to it, then how might they mitigate it? And all that. Of course,
sort of the first thing, this is an open sea crossing, and it's fabled, and as part of that, it brings up a lot of nervousness in us all. Our ships are purpose-built, and they do have modern equipment in terms of stabilizers to really take out an element of the movement. But we do recommend, if you do feel or you do suffer from motion sickness, to take seasickness medication, patches, ginger pill. There's a number of things, wristbands, those type of elements. On board, we do have a medical facilities with a doctor and 2 nurses on the bigger ships, and on Fram a doctor and 1 nurse. So we do really take care of people, and we want people to be as comfortable as possible. And also, our captains and our crew really look at making the smoothest crossing possible. So we can sort of alter the course slightly, speed to make it as comfortable as possible. But as we did do a bit of research, as you mentioned, Ollie, in terms of crossings and what we would call Drake Lake, and everything in between. Yeah, roughly 1 in 10 we do get that more movement. But to be when I was working as expedition leader on board, guests would say, "I really want it rough." And you say, "Be careful what you ask for." But it's part of the experience. But it's certainly nothing. I'd say nothing to be worried about. It's part of being that preparation and being mentally prepared. Worst case scenario, lying horizontal in your bed for that
Keeping
period.
hydrated and a
Yeah,
full stomach as well.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
with grease, but crackers or bread or something. That's also very important.
yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Verena, there's a question around the best combination for liners, gloves, mitts for photographers, and as a budding photographer yourself, I wondered if you could help with that, please.
Well, as a amateur photographer, I've tried every type of gloves and mittens and everything. And what works best for me is fingerless mittens and then just a windproof mitten that you can put over it in case it gets very cold. But having your at least index and thumb are essential for photographers. You must know. So yes, for me, fingerless gloves have been the best choice.
Cool. Thank you very much. Tudor, on average, how long do our guests have on landings on South Georgia and Falklands trips, please? I know it's subject to weather, but
Yeah.
roughly.
Falklands they're slightly different. Falklands is slightly longer because the sites are so much bigger. So Falklands up to sort of 2.5 hours, but it can be longer. South Georgia on the Fram trips, we try and do 2 landings in one day or 2 activities. So again, we're in the region of 90 minutes per landing. And again, in Antarctica, similar, around 90 minutes per landing.
Great. Thank you. Verena, in terms of the kayaking opportunities, how many on average would a guest typically have now that we have extra capacity in Antarctica? Do you think it's potentially more than
terms
one?
of time or times that you can do it?
Maybe both would help. Yeah, just.
Well, for the Sea Kayak program, we try to accommodate everybody who wants to participate in that program. So I would say, depending on the number of people who want to do it, at least once, of course, weather dependent. But now that we also have the Discovery program, people can more easily just have a quick go. You can do it at your own rhythm. You can do it whenever the ships or the boats are in the water, and you can join for half an hour, yeah. So that opens up the possibility of doing it more than once. Do you want to add something, Tudor?
Yeah, kayaking, we sign up on board to do it. And of course, because we take out 16 people with 2 guides. We have 4 kayak guides, so we can take 2 groups of 16 at once. And the whole activity is about 2.5 hours because part of that is dressing, briefing, the safety element. And because we do that, we split people into groups. So if people want to do it multiple times, they sign up multiple times, and we just work through the groups. Day by day. So if the conditions are great, we can take 64 people in one day, and we keep on taking that. This last season now, with the combination of the Sea Kayaks and the Discovery Kayaks, then as far as I know, we did fulfill everybody's
Wishes.
wishes to get out on the boats.
Yeah, whereas historically there was often a lottery in
Yeah,
place and not
yeah,
absolutely everyone was able to go. That's been a
yes,
really good build
yeah,
for us this
yeah.
season.
Yes.
Great. Tudor, it'd be good if you could just explain the operational process for how we get our guests on and off the ships in terms of the boat groups, please. There's a few questions around how
Yeah,
we manage that.
sure, sure. So everybody's, as I mentioned, everybody's split into different groups. Those groups are groups of 36 or up to 36. So as in 3 boatloads of people. And so if you are in the humpback group, you would be asked in the operational plan, say at 9:30 in the morning, that is the plan time for you to go and do a landing. There will be an announcement on the ship system saying, humpback group, please come to the expedition launch, which is so you will make your way down to deck 3 with your boots on, ready to go with your jacket on. You check out off the ship with obviously under the guidance, there'll be somebody there guiding you into the boat, take you on your nature landing. So that would be the humpback group. Then the next group would be called maybe 10 minutes later, and sort of controlling one numbers, flow of people, and or the different activities. So there could be that flow of people. So you would be going from your call, the operational plan, off you go. In the afternoon, you have in the plan, say, the humpback group to at 3 o'clock. That is your time to go Zodiac cruising. So again, come back down, do that, and go Zodiac cruising. Another group could be doing almost similar timings, but going Zodiac cruising in the morning and doing a landing in the afternoon. So yeah, it's all based around that small group. And I think one of the feedbacks that we get from our guests is although our ships are on the larger side, then they do not feel like they're big because one of the space, but also the operational organization is so good. You don't feel cramped or waiting or there's nothing happening like that. So plenty of time and yeah, a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely. And Verena, typically there's quite a few questions that we do see around how fit do I need to be to go to Antarctica on an expedition. So a number of questions that we've fielded today are around, do you need to be going to the gym every day to be able to go to Antarctica? So just be good if you could explain how fit people need to be, please.
Yeah, well, of course, being fit will help do more or walk further. But as Tudor mentioned when he was explaining how we bring people ashore with the Zodiacs or small boats, our expedition staff are there to help, to assist everybody during going into the boats, out of the boats. We will have a perimeter during a landing established where people can go as far as they want or return if they feel tired or not very comfortable walking. There is uneven terrain and that cannot be avoided. So we also provide a pair of, or you can get a pair of hiking sticks to support you when being ashore. So it really depends on the person's fitness state, but there is for everybody to enjoy at their own rhythm, and we will always support everybody in and out, or even going through a patch of difficult to navigate rocks to get to a certain viewpoint. But yeah, you don't need to go to the gym every day.
And I think if I could just add to that, the same with all our program. Our program is really full. We do a lot. The expedition team and the hotel team put a lot on, and it's the same as the landings or it's about doing what's right for you. I would say the main thing to bring is the right mindset and that ability and that adaptability. Safety is a really big concern, so looking after comfort and safety is really important. But it's how that fits in with you.
Absolutely. And we did actually have a video of our guests getting on board Zodiacs and disembarking Zodiacs, but we had to cut it, unfortunately, due to some technical issues. And so that's something that we could probably actually share in the chat separately. Other questions we have had some around the offer, and the offer is applicable to new bookings only, just to be clear around that. So when you would have booked, if you have booked, then you'd have access to the very best offer available at that particular time, and those benefits and pricing are particularly relevant to the time when you book. So just to cover that question as well. But Tudor, there's a question around on a highlights trip. Oh, sorry, we've already answered that one. There's a question around South Georgia and seals and some of the impact around seals there a few years ago. So I'm just wondering if you could answer that one, please.
I'll try and take the context of the question in terms of not sealing or
Yeah,
avian flu. Yeah.
avian
Yes.
flu.
Yeah. So avian flu is very much still around, but the mortality has really dropped off. And the seal mortality in South Georgia, in particular with avian flu, where it transmitted from birds into mammals, really hit seal pups, in particular elephant seal pups, which are and South Georgia is a big breeding ground for elephant seals. We haven't seen in this last season the level of mortality, and there seems to be a resistance built now within the seal population and also the bird population. So conditions are looking a lot better for the Antarctic wildlife now than potentially the fear that we had when HPAI, avian influenza, hit Antarctica to start with.
Right.
But biosecurity is very important still.
Absolutely. Verena, there's one final question, given we're at time. Could we give our guests some more information around camping, please? Perhaps the different types of camping that are available and how it works?
Yes, of course. So we offer they happen simultaneously, but you can sign up to do camping in a tent or sharing the tent with somebody, or you can sign up to do camping in what we call a BB, which is a small sleeping bag, a protected sleeping bag, waterproof, where you can choose to cover your head as well, but you will have your face open. And it is a more intimate, if you want, experience with the environment, because you will be witnessing everything throughout the overnight period on land. It's not like a tent where you will close the door and then leave everything outside. We have space for 30 people on each of the options. So altogether, 60 places are available for doing camping. If it is a long trip and conditions allow it and itinerary allows it, there may be 2 offers of camping on one trip, but normally it is one that we try to give for sure.
Brilliant.
And just in terms of timing, quickly to finish off, then we take people out after dinner, and then they come back to the ship before breakfast. So it's a short overnight stay, but the experience is incredible. And we found with those 60 places that we've managed to
cover
everybody that wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Tudor and Verena, for your words as usual. Really good. Thanks for all your questions, and thanks to the team behind the scenes. A little survey will pop up if you wouldn't mind giving us your feedback so we can learn from it. It would be very much appreciated. But otherwise, please do take advantage of the offer that we've put on the table today. Or if you have already booked, then we look forward to welcoming you on board next season. Thank you, everyone.
We
Thanks.
look forward to seeing you on
yeah.
board.
See you on board. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.